Nutrition talk today. You guys obviously went through a boxing workout. You guys went through a strength and conditioning workout. Nutrition is going to be a big part of that. It's the thing that is talked about the most, but not educated on. It's educated on the least. There's so many different ways people don't understand how to do things. And it's also understanding that before you can, you have to crawl, walk, run, sprint. And a lot of people are teaching nutrition from a sprinting standpoint, right? They're teaching nutrition according to athletes, bodybuilders, and it's like those are like cream of the crop competitors. But for the average person who's just trying to get in shape, the nutrition is not that hard, right? So instead of giving you guys a rundown of how nutrition works, I want to go right into like some question you guys may have with it.
Like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm eating a certain amount of calories. I guess the question is like, the more weight I gain, do I have to change the number of calories that I eat?
Yes.
Like, is it gonna stay as like
No.
2,500?
No, that's the idea. It's very simple. In order to gain weight, you have to eat more. In order to lose weight, you have to eat less. In order to stay the same, you just eat the same, right? But this all comes from reverse engineering it. Like knowing how much you're eating is important. So if you're just new to this, you need a food scale. I'm sorry. You need a food scale. I used to work at Whole Foods, and it was the funniest thing ever. I got really good at eyeing what weight looked like as far as from a nutrition standpoint, because we have to weigh how much we give customers, right? Because we don't want to over give them, right? So I can look at something and be like, that's 3.5 ounces, that's 4 ounces, that's 4.5 ounces. On top of the fact that like when I first started my nutrition routine, I had a food scale, because the biggest trick that you can do is if you go home right now, weigh out a serving size of peanut butter. See how wrong you are. And so the difference from calories and peanut butter is like you can have 3 servings and you think it's 1. So now you have this amount of fat, whatever type of oil it is, right? That's for a tablespoon, 15 milliliters. So if you're not weighing that stuff out, you can get 30, 45, 60, you can get 4 or 5 servings of that easily in there, right? So now it's upping your caloric intake and you have no idea. But if you're trying to gain weight, that's more so like in your favor, so it goes both ways. If you're a hard gainer, drink your calories, right? So don't go in there and just go and think to yourself, I'm gonna have 6 meals and they're all gonna be tilapia and rice or chicken and rice. That's gonna be boring, it's gonna be hard to eat. That's why being a bodybuilder is hard. Being a pro at anything is hard. So you guys think that these guys that are super jacked, it's like they're on steroids, it don't matter, they still gotta work. They still gotta eat. Gaining weight is hard when you are trying to gain weight intentionally. You know what I mean? So does that answer your question as far as about the calories? Right. What's at the bottom of the base is most important for you, right? Most important thing, number of calories. Second important thing, your macronutrients. Third important thing, micronutrients. Fourth important thing, meal timing. You know who has to worry about meal frequency and meal timing? Athletes. Athletes. Because they have to worry about how much fuel they're getting pre-workout, intra-workout, which is during the workout, and post-workout, because they don't get to just go ahead and play the game and then it's done. No, they have to play and then they got a game next week or 2 days later, or AAU, you got a game in 3 hours, you got a game in an hour, or you got to walk to the next court and play. Amateur boxing, right? If you're in a tournament and it's a 3-day tournament, you fight tomorrow. And guess what? You still got to make weight too. You don't get to just make weight once at an amateur fight. As a pro, you get to go ahead and weigh in before, but then that's who meal timing counts for, right? But once again, crawl, walk, run, sprint. Don't worry about the things that are necessary sprinting when you're just in the beginning, because now it's just gonna be too much in your head where it's like, I have to worry about so many things, and it's just the law of diminishing returns. Again, and the question is like how many proteins, fats, carbs, macronutrients, which are protein, fat, carbs. I include fiber just because fiber is not something that's easily gotten now. Most of the time fiber is going to be in your fruit, which is like an encasing that helps you digest your carbs a little bit more, as a quick kind of vocab on that. But protein, for the most part, for your everyday person is pretty much staying the same. Just do 1 gram per pound of body weight. Just keep it simple, right? So whatever you weigh, 1 gram of protein per. Now you can figure out what your other macronutrients are based off of that. The other macronutrients that I'm gonna say is gonna be based on what you do. An athlete is gonna need more carbs than somebody who sits at a desk, because they need more fuel, right? If you just sit at a desk, you can get away with the higher fat content because it's gonna be satiating, which means you're gonna feel like you're not hungry without having that full feeling. And so that's what satiation is, and you get that from fat, right? The correct amount of fat. We're not talking about have 3x3s from In-N-Out or anything like that. That's a different type, right? But that's what we mean for that. So now if we talk about protein, 1 gram per body weight, right? So let's go ahead and say now, if we use the board because it's here, right? And then we'll go, hopefully this doesn't offend anybody. 160 pound female. Female, okay, so, well, this is a specific example, Haley. What is it, H-L-E or? So no Y, right?
H-A-L-E-Y.
Okay, bet. So no Y before the L.
No.
Okay. All right, so how much you weigh, Haley? 145, right? What's your, okay, so you have an Apple Watch, so we have something to go off of right now. On average, what does your steps say for your Apple Watch? Daily?
Probably like
10,000, all right. So she gets about 10,000 steps per day, right? Activity is so we can figure out your calories, right? Just off the top of my head, and if you guys Google it and I'm wrong, it is what it is. This is just for an example. Based on 10,000 steps, your activity multiplier for being a female is probably like 1.4, 1.5, right? So that's what we're gonna multiply stuff as, right? Activity multiplier. Can't spell right now, right? So 10K steps, right? So body weight, this is the equation for you. 145, which is your body weight, times 11, times your activity multiplier. This is gonna be your calories. 11 times 1.5. Is this making sense so far to everybody, as far as how we're setting this up? It's an easy equation. The equation is easy, so was it? 2,392. 2,300. We're just gonna leave it at 2,300. Right, but it was really 2,392. That's how many calories you need based on your activity, right? The formula is easy, right? All this, you can get this information online. So this is to maintain her weight. So if you want to stay 145, this is what you need to eat to maintain and keep the weight. Your question was, how do I need to eat more if I want to gain more? If she wanted to gain more, she would have to go up in calories. If she wanted to drop weight, she would have to drop in calories, right? Or up her activity level, right? So formula is easy to find. The application is always hard. Like if I want to find a workout to go ahead and improve my shooting, I can find it online. But then now the application of it is like, how many reps do I need to do a day? Right, but you start from this, right? So now we found total number of calories. We need more math. There is 4 calories per gram of protein. That's P for protein. There's also 4 calories per gram of carbs. There is 9 calories per gram of fat. For those who are above 21 or those who legally are able to drink, wherever you're at, alcohol is 7 calories per gram, right? So if you think about that, like when you look at your beer can and it says 210 calories, you have an option to go ahead and apply this with that, right? So you know as far as what everything is, right? There's no study that says drinking alcohol is good though, by the way. We can't lie about this. There's no study that says that your performance will improve from drinking alcohol. Every study says it's gonna get worse. That's just alcohol, I'm sorry, right? Now for 2,300 calories in protein, right? Now we need to figure out the rest. So 2,300 minus 580 equals what? 1,720. She has 1,720 calories reserved for carbs and fat. Now, if I'm giving you a workout program and it's easier for you to just be consistent, because we talked about meal timing, right? You have to do that on carbs and fat. So if you're an athlete, the day of your competition, you're gonna need more carbs. The day of your intense workouts, you're gonna need more carbs, you're gonna need more fuel, right? The other days you might not, but if we keep this simple, let's go ahead and be like, okay, you work out, so your activity is a certain way, so let's leave your carbs are about 40%, right, of what your daily intake is. So we would go back to get 40%, and we'd multiply that by 2,300, and what was the number we got? So 2,300 times 0.4. 920. So 920 is the amount of calories she's gonna have in carbs. To find out the grams, we do 920 divided by 4 because that's the amount of calories in 1 gram of carbs. And what's that number that we got? So 230 carbs is what she needs. And I have these numbers written over here for something else, right? So now we do 920 plus 580 gave us what number? So now we do 2,300 minus 1,500, 800. 800 divided by 9 equals 88. So the question that Haley asked initially is, how do we figure out her macros? How do we figure out how much carbs she needs, how much fat she needs, how much protein she needs? This was the equation to do that. So we got that she is having 145 grams of protein, she is having 230 grams of carbs, and she's having 88 grams of fat. That makes up her 2,300 calories. The next question is, what do you need to eat to go ahead and get that? That's the fun part.
That was the easy, like the most simple explanation. I feel like every other video I've seen has been super fun to comprehend.
So no shout out to me. Once again, all glory to God and all glory to my mom because she taught me to be the solution, not the problem. Electrolytes on the floor. But what happens is, the more you understand something, the simpler it is to explain it. That's why I like teaching you guys so you can go ahead and teach other people. And the more that you teach somebody else, the better you understand something. Because there's something about being a human where it's like when you have to be accountable for somebody else, you do a better job of it. If it's just about me being in shape, I'm not going to handle business because it's like, for what? It just is what it is. But if I have to be in shape for somebody else, I'm going to do better at it. If I have to have a certain amount of knowledge to teach somebody else, I'm going to be better at it. Does that make sense? So I think that wraps up our nutrition talk. Unless anybody else have any questions.